am Justin Boyd.
And I don't have Krypto, the dog, but I've got corgis on my shirt. I'm Brittany Pacheco, and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss the official trailer for Superman. The official trailer is finally here. The movie is less than 2 months away. Comes to theaters July 11th. It's actually 58 days to be exact, and I am keeping track of that, by the way.
Who's counting?
I cannot wait for this movie. Couldn't wait to see the trailer. It dropped this morning. It's supposed to be 11 a.m. Central Time, but it actually dropped a little bit before then. Of course, we were at work, unfortunately, and so we're just now getting a chance to talk about it. I've seen it 20 times maybe, but we're gonna get get Brittany's thoughts on it. Hopefully, if there's people in the chat, we want to know what y'all thought about the trailer, and of course, I'll weigh in with what I think. But Brittany, let's get it started. What'd you think about this trailer, which is a 3-minute trailer?
Yeah, kind of a long trailer, I'm not going to lie. Shout out to King B. Johnson joining us in today's live chat. We're here, he says, for the Watchers in the Basement interview, #Daily Planet Life. That's pretty good. I like that. As you all may know, or who are new, welcome. First and foremost, subscribe. Please hit that subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell. That way you can be notified the next time we go live about the next great thing. I am not a huge DC fan.
Yeah.
Very unpopular opinion. I'm also not a huge Superman fan. Sorry, that's just who I am. I liked Henry Cavill as Superman, just didn't like the movies. Like any of them, sadly.
Yeah.
However, this version of Superman is kind of catching me by surprise, much how I feel towards the Fantastic Four movie. Not a fan of that franchise either. However, Daddy Pedro is probably going to make me a believer. So this actually might make me into a believer of Superman. No disrespect to the past Superman actors. I think they've all done great. I'm just not a fan. This trailer looked incredible. I love the casting. I love the dog. Naturally, we need to have more Krypto. Protect Krypto at all freaking costs. All right, we're seeing too many shows and movies that animals are in questionable states. Protect Krypto.
Krypto is a superpowered dog, though, so I think Krypto will be okay.
Does Krypto have the same kryptonite fault as Superman?
Probably so, but
okay.
Maybe.
As I said,
find that out. Yeah, hopefully we don't find out.
As I said, protect him at all costs. That being said, this trailer, for one being 3 minutes, I'm hoping they're not doing what most movie trailers do, and that's show the best parts of the movie and not leave a whole lot to offer when you actually watch the movie. I still can't get over, I think it's Nathan Fillion, right? Who's got the bowl cut haircut. I cannot get over that at all. It's just a silly look. I know it's accurate to the comics. Yeah. Anyway, that being said, overall, I really did enjoy it. I have not watched it as many times as Justin has, I will admit. However, I am looking forward to this movie. It comes out early July. I will still be in the States to watch it. I probably will miss out on the overall review of the movie, sadly, unless things can be planned accordingly. But, you never know. That being said, Justin, I did enjoy it. What are your thoughts on the trailer?
Yeah, so like Superman's not your favorite, but he is mine. He's not only my favorite superhero, probably my favorite character in all of fiction. I grew up with Superman, grew up with the Christopher Reeve movies. I love Smallville. Superman and Lois was a great show that wrapped up last year. Fan of all the movies. Brandon Routh as Superman Returns. I thought he did a good job, even though the movie wasn't great. Fan of Henry Cavill, same thing. Movie, Man of Steel, I've talked about it many times. Like, it's a movie, the more I watch it, the more I like it. But this right here is kind of Superman that I think a lot of people really want to see. And it's also a very comic booky, like super comic booky Superman story. From the way it looks, it's different than Marvel in the fact that it's like kind of high fantasy, more so than Marvel kind of being in the real world, like a heightened version of the real world. Whereas this is like taking the Marvel thing to a next level where it's, there's kaijus and there's, tons of superpowered people, and it's just like part of daily life. And with, the way Marvel did it, it was, the way they're still doing it, obviously, it's worked very well. And then, of course, what DC did before this iteration was even more grounded or more trying to be realistic. But obviously that didn't work. That's why we're starting over here with Superman and James Gunn at the helm directing the film. Quickly, just mention the cast. Like you said, David Corenswet plays Clark Kent Superman. Rachel Brosnahan is Lois Lane. Nicholas Hoult is Lex Luthor, and maybe Lex Luthor is the president in this movie, from what is said in the trailer. And we'll talk about
I'm
that.
sorry, what? I did not put
That's-
two and two together.
We'll go through that.
Ooh.
Rounding out the cast, we have Isabela Merced, who we know and love from
Dora the Explorer. No, I'm just kidding.
and The Last of Us. She Hot Girl. You have Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. The aforementioned Nathan Fillion. He's Guy Gardner. He's a Green Lantern, but he's the Guy Gardner Green Lantern. We have Anthony Carrigan as Metamorpho, who we do see more in this trailer than we've seen so far. Skyler Gisondo is Jimmy Olsen, who we don't see much of. He's in the trailer briefly. Sara Sampaio is playing Eve Tessmacher. Well, if she's in the trailer, it's very quick. I don't know if she was in it. And then we have María Gabriela de Faría. She is the engineer. She is one of the characters very prominently shown. She's the metallic looking woman who is chopping up Superman's robots in the Fortress of Solitude. And she's a character. She's like a member of the Authority, which was supposed to have its own movie. I don't think it's going to happen now, but that group is kind of like a boys kind of superhero group where they're, a corporate kind of a superhero team. So good to see that character in the movie. Wendell Pierce, who we did not see. We saw him in Thunderbolts. He played a congressman in Thunderbolts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or maybe he was a senator.
What happened to him?
Exactly. He plays Perry White, the newspaper editor of the Daily Planet. And then finally rounding out the cast is Frank Grillo, who is playing Rick Flag Sr. He voiced the character in Creature Commandos, which came out late 2024, which is very good, which is also a James Gunn project. Yeah.
You spoke very highly on that one.
And he's also going to appear in Peacemaker season 2. If you saw the trailer last week of Peacemaker season 2, you got to see, not only did you get to see Frank Grillo, but you got to see Isabela Merced playing her character, Hot Girl. We got to see Nathan Fillion. We got to see Sean Gunn, who's playing Maxwell Lord, who I'm sure he's in this movie. We didn't see him in the trailer though. Maxwell Lord was portrayed by Pedro Pascal in Wonder Woman 84. So
oh my,
trying to tie it all together there. But yeah, let's get into the trailer. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play the trailer and with the sound off so we don't get copyright issues. But yeah, we're gonna kind of work our way through it. So let's do that right now. I'm gonna hit play, and Brittany, we'll just kind of talk through what we're seeing and what do you think about what's happening here.
Night, right. The cityscape.
Yeah. Now you got Lois here. Lois is interviewing Superman. So obviously she knows that Clark is Superman, which I figured she would know that, but I wasn't sure like how quickly she would learn. His secret identity obviously is a very important part of the character. What do you think about having her seemingly she knows it from Jump Street in this movie?
I mean, we really don't know how early on she discovers his true identity, right?
Right.
But I will say, when watching the trailer, how they go from conversation, Lois and Clark, right? His voice was very distinctive as Clark. And when she begins the interview and says, "Ready," and he's like, let's do it, Cronkite. She says, "Superman," and Clark's voice changes into Superman. And I'm like, wow, what a really cool transition of personalities from one to the other. And I mean, it's such a small thing that could easily be overlooked, but I noticed it right off the bat. I'm like, oh wow, that's really interesting to see. So I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah,
but
he just real quick, he kind of sits up and he says Miss Lane, and he says it very much. It's very much a nod to the Christopher Reeve 1978 Superman movie where Lois interviews Superman, but he's actually in the costume and she doesn't know that Clark is Superman.
Right. Baffles me, but besides the point. Yeah, the interview, how it begins, it seems just very simple,
Yeah.
simple questions, what have you. But it easily becomes very emotional and very heated. And you see Superman, I say this carefully, Superman become a little bit more agitated by the questions that are being asked of him. And,
Yeah.
he, for all intents and purposes, is serving as a vigilante who doesn't operate under any government organization, what have you. He's just someone who does good, right? And he
Yeah.
acts on his own, but he acts on his own for good. And for Lois Lane being the journalist that she is, she's asking all those hard hitting questions that make people uncomfortable, and you can just see the anger rise in Superman. I'm like, oh, she needs to tread lightly because he's probably going to smash some things about.
No, but that's not what Superman does though. That's the
I
thing
know
is he
that.
has
I
all
know
this
that.
power, but he chooses to be good, and
Yeah,
he's not a human being, but he wants to be a human being. But the interview is very combative, like
it
from
is.
the start. I mean, granted, we don't obviously see the whole thing, thankfully, and I mean, like I said, this is like a story trailer, I believe. Whereas we've in December, right before Christmas, we got the teaser trailer, and then on Superman Day last month in April, we got this extended look where we got a scene, and then they kind of mixed in the teaser trailer. This is the
Mhm.
first time that we got to see dialogue, people
Mm,
talking, and we kind of get an idea of the story. I hope this is the last we get of the story. I'm sure there will be another trailer between now and July 11th. I know there's obviously going to be TV spots and all kinds of little clips that'll be on social media, but I hope we don't get too much of the story because I like how I have a better idea today than I had as far as the story of the movie, but I
mhm.
don't want it to be plotted out where there's so many movies nowadays where you see a trailer and you go watch the movie and the trailer is in the same order of the movie and you're just
Mhm.
like, I know this movie from watching the trailer. I mean, I don't know every part of it, but I have a pretty good idea. Whereas this movie, there's still a lot of questions. There's still a lot of stuff I don't think they're showing us, which is great. And I hope they
Yeah.
don't show us. I hope this is like the enough. This is enough story for me. Obviously, I'm a super fan, but hopefully for most people, this will be enough to entice them and make them want to go to the theaters to see this movie.
Well, and you're furthering my point about how a lot of movie trailers these days show the best parts of the
Right.
movie and leave nothing new, nothing surprising when you actually
Yeah.
go to the movie. It's like, "Oh, I I literally just watched the entire movie trailer and I got the whole movie."
Yeah.
And that sucks because people spend good hard-earned money to watch their favorite characters, actors, what have you on the silver screen, and then they're let down because everything's already been handed to them on a silver platter in
Yeah.
short format. So, yeah, I agree with you. I don't want to see much more in terms of story, in terms of just the action and what have you. Not that I really watch movie trailers as it is.
Mhm.
I just I'm already on the fence when it comes to Superman and DC alone. So I don't want to be exposed to too much personally and then just be disappointed in the end, or
Yeah.
I don't know, just spoiled in the end.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Going back to the interview between Lois and Superman, she talks about how, and this is a plot point, I think, for the big part of the movie, is she mentions how he illegally entered a country and he, as he put it, stopped a war. Now, I think this is in reference to there are two fictional countries in this movie. There may be many, but there are two for sure. One of them is Baravia, and the other one I'm not sure. It starts with the J. I can't really pronounce it, but it's these two countries are warring. The part of the trailer where you see the little kid with the flag, the Superman flag.
Yeah.
That kid is in one of those countries. I believe he's in Baravia. So
Not
Superman goes.
Bavaria.
No, it's Baravia. That's how it's
Okay.
pronounced. And
Okay.
so he goes to that country and obviously stops this war, but then the government has questions, and that's where I was kind of getting about Lex Luthor being president because in the trailer when they show Rick Flag Senior, they show Frank Grillo. Lois says the Secretary of Defense is looking into you, and they show Frank Grillo. So it's like maybe Frank Grillo is now the Secretary of Defense because his character in Creature Commandos, he's like the director of Argus, or he's like a high ranking official in Argus. Argus is
Hmm.
this like fictional, like almost like Shield sort, but I mean like it's run by the bad guys, but it's like it's a military group, right?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
DC. And so she mentions that she says Secretary of Defense, they show him. Then she says, did you contact the president? They show Lex. And so I wonder,
Mm,
is Lex the president? Because there are comic book storylines where Lex is the president. Even in Smallville, there's a dream where Lex becomes the president. So it's like, this
okay.
is, I think that's probably what's going to happen is Lex is going to be the president, but we'll see.
Interesting.
Yeah, that, because, that's something that would obviously, put obviously the country, Lex will be running the government. He's got his own group of superheroes, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't like the fact that Superman's taking all the attention away from him because he is,
Mm.
in his mind, he is the ultimate human. He's the Uber man, like he's the richest person in the world, and he's, in the peak physical condition, and so
Why
it's like,
does this sound so familiar with the exception of peak physical
yeah,
condition?
yeah, yeah,
Although
yeah,
this
no,
person in question would say
right.
otherwise.
I think Lex is a more successful businessman, also. Just
Ah.
saying. Obviously, fictional character, but that will be interesting to see if Lex is the president. So that's something I jumped on right away. I was like, "Oh, Lex is the president. That's pretty cool. We'll see." Or maybe he's not, but very weird how they framed that on Lex when they showed him.
Yeah.
What do you think about Nicholas Hoult playing Lex? Because he did audition. Because first of all, he auditioned to be Batman, and Robert Pattinson beat him out for the Batman. He
Okay.
also auditioned to be Superman, and David Corenswet got the job. But obviously, uh, Nicholas Hoult found his way to another main character in the DC universe playing Lex. What do
Mhm.
you think from Lex from what we saw in the trailer?
Oh, I'm absolutely here for it. I love Nicholas Hoult. I love him in of course, he was in X-Men Days of Future Past, right? He was the young Hank
Yeah,
McCoy, aka Beast. So I think it's cool that he's like bridged both franchises, right? And Marvel as well as DC. I love it when actors are able to do that within reason. And they're playing polar opposites of what their previous character would have been, right? Hank wasn't like this, all attention seeking, think highly of himself an individual. He was complete opposite, right? He was almost ashamed of his mutation and what have you, but he did
right.
good, right? He tried to do a lot of good. It was just hard for society to accept him. So for Nicholas Holt, I've seen Nicholas kind of play a villain type or just someone you just really didn't like as he was just an asshole.
Yeah,
He played Peter as in Peter the Great, the Tsar of Russia, in the show The Great. He played opposite of Elle Fanning, who was Catherine the Great, and they had great chemistry together. But he was kind of like an idiot, but he was also like mean and ruthless and just like someone again that you didn't like. So I feel like him having played that sort of character before, he can easily tap into something like that with Lex Luthor. But Lex Luthor is a lot more intelligent, a lot
mhm,
more ruthless, a lot more strategic, right? So I'm very excited to see Nicholas in this role. I didn't care for Jesse Eisenberg in the other
yeah.
Superman adaptations, right? As Lex Luthor,
I did not either.
I can't get past his voice, right? And I couldn't get past him with the ball cap. And I'm like, no, nah, can't do this. Like I hear his voice and I think of the bird from the movie Rio. It's a dream. I think it's a DreamWorks animation or one of those animation companies. I just can't get past it. So I think Nicholas is a much better fit for Lex Luthor.
Yeah, no, I agree. And mentioned earlier, I mentioned this country Bravia. There's a character in this trailer they show toward the end of the trailer where Superman's fighting this guy in a suit. It's like, look, it looks like a mech suit, right? It's gold.
Yeah.
That character is known as the Hammer of Baravia. This is a character that was
Mm.
made up solely for this movie by James Gunn. I think that's actually Lex in that suit because in the
Oh,
comics, Lex has a power suit much like Iron Man, except for it's this bigger mech suit, and his suit is typically green and purple. Those are his colors for the suit.
right.
This suit is not that color, but I do believe that it'll be revealed that that's Lex in that suit because I think that Lex wants to be the one to take out Superman because his hatred and his jealousy of Superman forces him to take matters into his own hands. And that maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong, but to me, like when you make up a character in a metal suit, it looks very much like his mech suit, just different color.
Mhm.
That's probably what we're gonna see. I've seen
Okay.
other people online speculate that maybe it's the suit for Ultraman. And Brittany, I don't know if you're familiar, but Ultraman is one of the characters we do see in this trailer. He's the character that's dressed in full black that holds Superman, like pushes Superman's head to the
Okay,
ground.
he
Yeah,
almost looked like, what's his name in,
Black Noir.
thank you.
Yeah, from The
Yeah.
Boys. Yeah.
Well,
So,
no, not just Black Noir, but also, Bolt? What was it in Doctor
oh,
Strange?
Black Bolt.
Black Bolt. Yeah, it kinda
Yeah,
gave me that too,
kind
but
of.
you're right.
Yeah,
Black Noir is a much more fitting
yeah.
visual in comparison.
So the way that Ultraman looks in this movie is different than I've ever seen because in the comic books, Ultraman is actually a Superman from an alternate Earth, and it's
Oh,
like he basically has Superman's costume except for he has a big U on his chest instead of the S. And so obviously they've changed him for this version.
mhm.
I'm not a comic expert by any stretch, so maybe he's looked like this in this black suit before, but we shall see how that turns out. But it appears he is working for Lex in some capacity.
Hmm.
And as I mentioned before, the engineer is also working for Lex, and we get her one of her key scenes where she goes to the fortress, turns her hands into saws because she has this like nanotech in her blood, and so she
Oh,
can turn into metal uh objects, I guess at random or at
that
will.
actually looked really cool.
Yeah. And so she's sawing the robots in half, which is pretty sad because the robots are what help Superman, help him heal. They've raised him since he was a child.
Mhm.
Um, I know, like in the comic books and a lot of other Superman stories, the main robot's name is Helix. I don't know if they're going to have a name for the robot because the robots have numbers. In
Mhm.
the previous trailer, we saw that there was a number 4 who was voiced by Alan Tudyk, I believe, and there's a
Mhm.
female one who's number 12. So, but in that scene, I do want to point out, and I'm sure you noticed this, where she's sawing these robots in half, and Krypto comes to save them. We're actually about to see it right now.
Mhm.
Krypto tries to help out. He flies
Yeah.
and hits her in the face.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so we'll see what happens with that scene. I think I
Protect crypto.
I
Damn it.
think I know how Krypto gets away, and I'll just tease the fact that, while Krypto is Superman's dog in certain iterations of Superman, and maybe even in this movie, he's actually the dog of another super character, that we might be seeing in this movie also. So, who is in this
Oh,
movie, by the way, and it's someone that is from another property that we talk about a ton. So, again,
interesting.
we'll probably I hopefully won't see her or see that character in any trailers or
That
anything, but yeah, so we'll see about that. But, what'd you speaking of Crypto, just kind of wrapped up his part of the trailer. What'd you think about the very end where Superman, obviously, he's taking a beating, whether it's from the Lex character, or from all these characters, and the accumulation of everything that's happened. He's back home. He's in his childhood bed, and Crypto is sleeping on his chest, looking like he's ready to go outside. What'd you think about that shot?
It's the goodest boy that ever existed. Goodest boy
There it
ever.
is, right
Look
there.
at that shot.
Yeah,
Look at that face. And
yeah,
tail wagging. He just wants some loving from his papa.
yeah,
He just needs he's a good emotional support dog. He knows what papa wants. I don't know if he actually calls him papa or not. It doesn't really matter to me. That's what I interpret. It's a cute scene. It's a cute scene. Obviously, Justin, you know how much I love my dog Luna. She actually doesn't do this with me. She actually does that with her papa, if you will.
mhm.
And I don't know why she doesn't do that with me. I'm her person, but she doesn't do that with me. But dogs need loving too. They need to be cared for
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
reminded that they are the
Yeah,
goodest beings ever. It's a really cute scene because it brings it back to that more human, grounded sort of
yeah,
understanding, right? That yes, he's Superman, he's got these great powers and what have you, but
mhm.
at the end of the day too, he loves his dog. The dog loves
Yeah,
him. Like
yeah.
let them be happy. Let them have their moment. It's really cute.
And I think Crypto will play a big part in the movie. I do like the fact that how Crypto was such a big part of the teaser trailer and of the
Yeah.
extended preview. I like how they kind of backed it off a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, Now for the marketing of this movie, Crypto's all over the marketing. In fact, Milkbone, that company, they have a special Crypto Milkbone that comes with a comic book.
Well, I'm
So
not surprised.
yeah, so there are probably people without dogs who might be buying those things. I might know one of those people,
Justin.
who might be buying something like that just because I've already bought a lot of the merch.
Subtle.
The merch is available, I've purchased or it's on the way or I'm wearing or, having various forms of all kinds of shirts and hats and hoodies and all kinds of stuff. So, but yeah, we'll definitely Crypto will play a huge part, but I liked how he was a little bit de-emphasized in the trailer. But something that was in this trailer that I did appreciate, I think a lot of people like to see, is Superman saving a lot of people.
Yeah.
Which, should be standard fare for Superman, but I think it's good to show that he cares about people. Not to say that previous Supermans didn't care about people, but that wasn't kind of the point of those movies, which is kind of baffling because that's always a big part of Superman.
Yeah, I agree. Not that I've watched many adaptations of Superman, let alone Smallville, for example, but it's smart for James Gunn's direction to reemphasize that Superman operates under the name of good, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think there was a line that was said something about kindness, or kindness being like an old-fashioned sort of idea or something, and it's forgotten, in other words. That, I guess, and in other words, when people do things, it's for what's the word I'm looking for? Justin, help me out here. It's for self gain or self satisfaction or what have you. It's not just for the greater good. It's not for someone else, right? It's for yourself. And I think
Superman is selfless, whereas
thank you.
The rest of the world is either selfish or at least very self-interested, I believe is probably
that was the freaking word I was looking for. Self-interested.
So, but Superman's selfless. I can't talk. Selfless. And like I said, he's
someone just threw a can at the back of his head and he doesn't flinch. He doesn't turn around. He doesn't react. It's like, man, I would have been the villain at that moment. Goodness.
Well, like Homelander just would turn around, just laser the guy and move on.
Homelander wouldn't have even waited for the can to hit his head. He just turned around to react,
Yeah. King B in the chat says our world and society today needs that Superman spirit freshly. I agree. I think that's a big part of this movie is wanting to have hope and have a hero who is so hopeful, who's like a throwback character to when he was created back in 1938. So it's like, he was created by Joel Schuster and Jerry Siegel, two young guys living in Cleveland. By the way, the movie was shot in Cleveland. Cleveland is made to be Metropolis in the movie. And when Siegel and Schuster created Superman, it was because, was it Schuster's? One of them, their father was killed. He was shot and killed. And so they created this character where this character was, bullets couldn't hurt him. He could save people and save the so it's that kind of stuff. But like Superman's love for human beings and the world is a big part of the character. And speaking of that, where he gets that love is from his family. And in this trailer, we see Pa Kent, who we saw in the original teaser trailer. We didn't see Ma Kent in the teaser trailer, which led people like me to speculate, well, maybe she dies, because typically in Superman storylines, Pa Kent dies. He usually dies of a heart attack. In Kevin Costner's case, he died in a tornado for some reason, which is honestly one of the worst moments in movie history. But I'll move on.
It really was.
Really bad.
Really bad.
But usually he dies of a heart attack. And the reason why they choose a heart attack, it's something that Superman can't save him from, right? Unless, even if he rushes into the hospital right away, you're not gonna be able to save him from that.
He's fast, but the heart attack works faster.
Right. So I thought, well, maybe Ma Kent dies or something happens to her, but no, she's in the movie and she's doing what a good mom is doing, taking care of her boy.
Hopefully survives.
Yeah. She cleaned up his boots so he could be ready to go back out to save the day.
So precious. Yeah, that was really sweet. I'm like, what a good Midwestern family, I love that. And also too, I just have to say the casting of David Corenswet.
Yep.
What an unfortunate last name. Sorry. But aside from that, he is simply adorable. The more I look at him, the more I see a young Christopher Reeves. And it's kind of baffling how, they're not exactly alike, obviously, but there are similarities, and the dimples, I think, are just absolutely adorable. Like in this shot right here that just passed of Superman walking through the crowd that's yelling at him, dude throws a can at the back of his head. He actually looks like Nathan Fillion to me. Like when Nathan Fillion is like pissed off, he's just got that look. I don't know
Okay.
why. I
Yeah.
see it. I just like briefly see it across his face. It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
Sidebar. Sorry, went on a
No,
tangent.
one thing I love about Corenswet, what we've seen so far, is he's very expressive and
Yes,
he has a personality about himself.
he does.
He's not like a dour character. He's
Yeah.
like that's part of what the Man of Steel movie is. Superman has godlike powers, and so
Hmm.
he is like looked at as like a god. Whereas
Hmm.
Superman in most of the TV shows, most of the Christopher Reeve, he was never considered a god. He was just this like ultimate savior almost, but like not an all like a world ending kind of god who can
Yeah.
control everything. So
Yeah.
I do like the fact that like we're seeing David Cornsweet play Clark, play Superman, play like
Hmm.
and like play it more like a person and not like,
A
you know,
godlike.
yeah, kind of give a little personality to it because that's what it needs. Just
I
want to
think
wrap
it's
up. Go
I
ahead.
think it's the red underwear. Just saying, they brought back the red underwear.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think I think that's what it is.
do you know the reason for that?
I do not.
So the reason for and David Cornsweet's the one who made the decision on the trunks because the trunks, like it's in the comics, they get rid of the trunks, they bring them back. Man of Steel didn't have the trunks. Man of Steel suit looked great, but like
Oh, that all black suit look amazing.
Christopher Reeve, his suit looked great too. I mean, that was obviously old school in the 70s and 80s, and it had the trunks. But the reason why
Right.
Corenswet wanted the trunks is he explained that if you're in this world and you see someone like Superman and his powers, to make kids feel like not scared of him, he wears his trunks on the outside, much like a professional wrestler, like a wrestler would do. So it was his way to like go, hey, like kids wouldn't be afraid of him if he's got his underwear on the outside of his pants. So I like that explanation. I thought that was a good
Can,
like way to
can I
explain.
can I tell you what that reminded me of?
What's that?
One of my favorite movies of all time, and Justin knows this, but I'm gonna reveal it to the world. Billy Madison.
Oh
It's one
yeah,
of my favorite Adam Sandler movies. But what you just described reminded me of the scene where the kids are on the field trip and Billy, funny enough, not Billy, what was his name? The little kid. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Little kid
right.
with glasses, really cute. He had an accident. He peed his pants. Well, Billy Madison ends up splashing water on his front,
Yeah,
walks around. All the kids were like, "Hey, Billy peed his pants." He's like, "Yeah, I did. It's the coolest thing ever." Next thing you know, all the kids have peed their pants as they're
yeah,
boarding the bus back to school. And I'm like, I just correlated what you just
yeah,
described from David Cornswet to that moment in movie history. So that's kind of funny. It's
yeah.
kind of
No,
sweet, kind of weird,
yeah.
but kind of funny.
Trying to make the character likable for all ages because Superman is
Yeah.
a what you call a four quadrant kind of character where it's for the young, it's for the old, it's for men, it's for women, and it's for everybody. So that's what the
Hmm.
character really is trying to appeal to. So I like that. I did want to mention about Pa Kent. I do like his voiceover, what he's saying. He says, "Your choices, your actions, that's what makes you who you are." So I do like that he gets Superman gets the positive reinforcement from his human parents, from the Kents. So,
That was basically a rephrase with great power comes great responsibility in my ears.
somewhat,
That's kind of
yeah,
what that translated to.
right. But I mean, the reason why Superman is loves humans and is so human is because of his family.
Sure, sure,
Whereas,
sure.
like with Homelander, he grew up in a lab, and so that's why he kills people, right? He doesn't care. He places no value on human life, right? Everything is just to serve him. So it
Mm,
does show you like what happens when like if Superman would have landed somewhere else,
yeah,
instead of Kansas, instead
yeah.
of Smallville, Kansas, who knows what happens with it? There are great comics that talk about that. There's one where he lands in the Soviet Union,
Oh,
and and that might actually be something we see on the silver screen at some point. I've heard that
oh,
there's talk about
interesting.
that, so we'll see. But obviously, let's talk about this Superman first. I do like in the movie, like I mentioned this before, but Lex, he has a voiceover. He has some dialogue where he's talking about Superman. He says, "Superman." He's like, he's not a man, he's an it,
Mhm,
and that somehow become the focal point of the entire world's conversation. I will not accept that. I
mhm,
did like that. I do like to
mhm.
see Lex, you know, um,
unhinged.
Yeah, yeah, Lex being a rival of Superman, whereas, again, previous iteration, the last one, Jesse Eisenberg's character was all over the place, and he was
Yeah.
really just evil Mark, like a more evil Mark Zuckerberg from Social
Almost
Network, you know?
it was almost I still haven't seen
Yeah,
the movie. It's been
yeah,
so many years, but I still have never seen it. Yeah, it was more comical
yeah,
hearing Eisenberg try to be a Lex Luthor, and I'm just like, just go sit in your corner. Go sit in
yeah.
your corner and have a juice. Like, just calm down. You know, you just need a nap.
Speaking of, like, Superman, what happens if he ends up in the wrong hands? There's a movie called Brightburn that King B. Johnson highlights here in the
Hmm.
chat, and it came out a few years ago. And actually, James Gunn was, I think his brother, one of his brothers wrote the movie, but he had like a producing credit on it. It's
Hmm.
pretty good. Check it out. It's like, what if, what if Superman like grows up to be a little monster, and he's a little kid who just
So Homelander.
Homelander, yeah, kind of, but he's like 10 years old. So
Like, what if he grew up to be a little shit? You
it's
know?
yeah, it's almost more like it's a like superhero. It's more horror than it is like a superhero
Oh,
movie, I believe. Yeah, but he does have very much like Superman powers. So if
hmm,
you haven't seen Brightburn, give it a watch. It's worth it.
have not watched
Um,
it.
yeah, no, it's pretty good.
Hmm.
One thing I wanted to I'll mention was the other characters that we don't see a ton of, but I did mention Mr. Terrific and I mentioned Hawk Girl and um um sorry, Green Lantern. They are members of a Justice League called Justice League International. Now, I'm not sure if that's what they're called in this movie yet, but
Mm,
they work for Maxwell Lord, who, like I said, is played by Sean Gunn. And so it's almost like Lex has his like corporate superheroes, and then this
mhm.
other billionaire, Maxwell Lord, he has his superheroes. And it looks like Superman is just like trying to do good. And he's not, he just does good for good's sake. He doesn't do it for, money or endorsements or whatever.
Right.
It seems like what they're setting up is sort of like a boys situation. What do you
Yeah,
think
that
about that?
well, I was gonna say The Boys, but then it kinda made me think about Invincible, that animation that's also on
Yeah,
Amazon. I don't remember precisely because I only watched, like, 1 episode. I don't remember if those superheroes operated under an agency of some kind or they were just their own thing, right? Kinda like the Avengers who
yeah,
just they didn't really answer to anybody. But I I don't have a whole lot to say about it, truthfully.
yeah,
It that just seems to be the thing about these superheroes that they'll meet up, form some sort of an alliance, some sort of organization, and just
mhm,
go and do things, whether it's in the name of good or not, is basically up to their own philosophy. But I don't have a whole lot to
yeah,
comment on, truthfully.
and it looks like in the teaser trailer, it looks like the 3 heroes I mentioned are helping Superman, at least, or
Mm,
maybe they're recruiting him, or I'm not sure what's going on, but, it
mhm.
is interesting because 'cause we're jumping in a world where obviously he is already Superman. Now, he hasn't been Superman for too long, I think maybe for a year or 2, but
So it's like
it's
the Robert Pattinson Batman.
yeah, so it's not an origin story. Now, we might get origin stuff maybe like in Lois's interview.
Mm,
Maybe it's like a long form interview where we cut to different points in time and then current day. I think that's what could happen. Just a guess. I don't know. We'll see.
possible.
But it is interesting that there's like a Justice League formed, but it doesn't have Superman, doesn't have Batman, doesn't have Wonder Woman. So, which obviously that's the trinity of the Justice League in DC.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting how they're gonna maybe engineer getting to that point if they do get to that point at some point. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I'm just this movie just it's very fascinating to me, not just because I like Superman, but just because there's so many characters and it's a Superman story for sure. He's definitely the main character without question, but there are lots of other characters who are bringing interesting things to the table
Mhm.
that could lead to building this universe, and they're really gonna try to build it out. I mean, it's almost like the universe is already built out. We're just kinda jumping in to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, obviously with Marvel, they built it one character at a time, and it worked very well, and it's still working very well.
Yeah.
This is a different approach, but I think it's, like, unlike what the DCEU did, where you throw everybody together in one movie after, like, 2 or 3 movies, and then you try to, like, create a
Make it
Justice
work.
League. Yeah, it's like,
Mhm.
this is like, they already exist, we're just now getting to see them, and so
Yeah.
that's very interesting, and I've heard that, like, Star Wars there will be movies in the DCU that are not like you might have a movie like a 1940s kind of movie, a period piece, right?
Okay.
Or you might have a movie that's made in the year 2000, and it's not going to be like, we're not going to just continue to go forward. It's going to bounce all around, kind of like Star Wars, or it
Okay,
could.
I was
Yeah.
trying to make the connection about Star Wars and DC. I'm like,
Well,
wait, what?
what I'm saying is like you'll have like episode 7, and then you have like Rogue One. Then you have
Mm,
like, oh, we'll do episode 8. Now we're gonna do Solo. You know what I mean? Like
I
that's
see.
what I meant. Like it'll be,
Interesting.
yeah, it won't be like how the MCU's done it outside of like Black Widow, where Black Widow, spoiler, was already dead before her solo film actually came out. So
She was just done wrong.
it's a good movie though.
Yeah, I liked
Um,
it.
one of the final things I want to mention is I really like this, like the look of the fight between the Engineer and Ultraman and Superman at the Cleveland Guardians field. It
Mhm.
was filmed on the field, and they've renamed the team to the Metropolis Meteors, or maybe Meteorites. So that's yeah. So I'm gonna try to get some Metropolis
Mm,
baseball gear if I
Lord.
can. But I know that looks really cool. That fight on the baseball field looks awesome.
Just hop over the river to Gotham, and you can get Gotham Knights merch as well.
Yeah, I don't know that Gotham's gonna be across the river. Like, I mean, hopefully it's not. I
Yeah.
really hope it's not in the
Hopefully,
DC.
there aren't 2 Marthas.
Yeah. Well,
Good
there could
God.
be two. Well, I think the obviously Martha Wayne will be dead in the DCU, but maybe not. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So I guess final thoughts on the trailer, Brittany. Well, I guess like what are you most looking forward to that maybe you got out of this trailer?
I again, I don't try to have expectations when it comes to these movies, especially with franchises I don't particularly care for all that much. I will go into it with an open mind and try to absorb as much as I can. Obviously, James Gunn, for his direction and writing and what have you, I think it was smart for DC to acquire him in general to lead this rebrand, this new universe, if you will. And it goes to show, because the fact that he was so successful with Guardians movies, which again are not my favorite in the franchise. It's no disrespect to anybody. It's just not my favorite. But success is success. And DC needs success. And I think this is going to move them into the right direction for future installments. And I'm looking forward to the dog, obviously, because
Yeah.
Krypto just popped up on the screen. Again, protect him at all costs, right? Give the boy all the scritches, all the levies, all the scritches, all the milk bones, right? Let him have a day off as well. I'm looking forward just to seeing how David Corenswet performs as both
Yeah.
Clark Kent and Superman. Uh, Henry Cavill's kind of a big shoes, big bodysuit to fill, obviously, right? Like you look at Henry Cavill and you're like, that guy is Superman, right? There's been
Well,
a lot of
physically.
physically he is
Yeah.
Superman, and that's tough to live up to, obviously. But I feel David Cornswet is going to bring something to the screen that maybe Henry Cavill's Superman couldn't or didn't, right? And I'm just looking forward to the different adaptation on the screen.
Yeah, I think the Corn Sweat will be a better character. And physically, he's taller than Henry Cavill,
Yes, he's
considerably
just not
taller.
as
So
bulk.
yeah, but he's still a big dude though. Like
Yeah,
so, yeah. So
he's like what, six
um,
four?
yeah, 6'4". Yeah, he put on a lot of muscle for the movie. So yeah, no, I think Corn Sweat's gonna be. I think he's gonna become a star. I think this is like his big moment. Obviously,
Hmm.
I'm rooting for this movie. I really root for all these movies. I don't want any of them to fail, but I think this one was very important, not just for DC, but for superhero movies in general. Like
Hmm.
even Marvel, they're not rooting against Superman. They want Superman to succeed also
Yeah,
because it
they want a
raises.
crossover.
Well, that definitely could happen, but they won't obviously like you don't want this whole genre to end up dying. And I think
No.
Superman could be the shot in the arm that the genre needs, and I think it's going to do it. It's going to be a big month of July. Obviously, you got this movie, you've got Jurassic World Rebirth, and you've
Yeah.
got Fantastic Four first steps. So a lot happening in July, but don't miss Superman July 11th at a theater near you and see it in IMAX. That's the best way to see it. I will definitely see it in IMAX. I'm going to see this movie conservatively probably 10 times. I bet I will see it at least. Yeah, I'm probably going to see it 10 times. So can't wait. I'll be
Man.
talking about it. We'll be talking about it for sure. So
Yeah.
so yeah, that is our review of the Superman trailer. Cannot wait for July 11th to get here so that we can see the
Yeah. And I just realized July 11th is the day that I fly out.
Okay.
So I will not be
Well,
here for the
I'm
premiere.
I will see it July 10th for sure. Hopefully I can see it before then. If I hope there's a fan screening or an early screening. I've had the good fortune to see a couple of those over the years, and really hope I get a chance to see Superman early. But I
Mhm.
won't spoil it. I don't spoil stuff for other people, so I will keep my mouth shut if I do see it. But can't wait to talk about it once we all have seen it. In the chat, we have King B Johnson with a question. If any of you could ask Superman questions, what would you ask? That's a good question.
Um, talk about being put on the spot.
Yeah.
I don't know, actually. I'm gonna
Yeah.
toss that to you first because given that I'm not the super fan that Justin is, I wouldn't know where to begin with my questions.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never even thought about asking Superman a question. That's such a and I was sort of still am a journalist. So like that's very interesting that I mean, truth be told, part of the reason why I went into journalism was because of Clark Kent. Like not kidding at all. Like I
That is
loved,
adorable.
you
I
know,
love that.
Lois and Clark back in the day, Dean Cain as Superman and Terry Hatcher, Lois Lane. Like that was one of my favorite shows growing up. And yeah, but as far as the question for Superman, I don't really have one, I guess. Like just man, why do you care so much about a world that doesn't care? I guess it's because of his parents, obviously. But
Yeah, I mean, that would be the explanation.
yeah.
I don't know. Man, that's
Probably stuff like, he has super hearing, so he's constantly hearing things. Like
ooh.
how do you sleep? I mean, does he need to sleep? I don't know that he really does.
Listen,
Like,
that's a really good point because I have tinnitus in my right
yeah,
ear. I have a constant ringing in my ear. Thanks Bell's palsy.
yeah,
But I if he knew how to shut that off
yeah.
and could somehow train me to shut this off, that'd be great. But that
I'd
probably
probably
wouldn't be.
ask him like who's his favorite Marvel character? See if he reads Marvel comics or watches the MCU. Like, is he, what does he think about Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doom? That's probably what
Ooh.
I'd ask him. Yeah. The hard hitting stuff. Yeah.
Who No, it's not a fair question because he's a godlike creature and Batman's just a guy. I was gonna ask like who could drink more, but that's an obvious, that's an obvious answer. I think it's kind of like if he went toe to toe with Thor, right? Like
Yeah.
Superman goes drinking with Thor. Who's gonna tap out first?
Yeah. Good. I mean, I think they probably could both drink forever. You know what I mean? So,
And be like, this drink, I like it. Another.
yeah. So Brittany, that we had another trailer drop today. Well, I think we should talk about that briefly here.
Yeah.
The
Go
trailer
for
for
it.
Ironheart dropped today,
Mhm.
and let's throw that up on the screen so that we can kind of have that playing while we're talking.
Full screen.
Yep.
There you
We
go.
ready? Okay.
Yep, let's do it.
So we got Ironheart here, and it comes out on June 24th. The one thing I noticed right away was the fact that they're going to drop. It's a 3 episode premiere on June 24th. The season's only 6 episodes,
Mhm.
so half of the season will premiere on the first week of the show. Um, that's kind of the thing that bothered me the most about it. What did you think about the look of the trailer, the what we saw from the characters from Riri Williams and you know, Parker Robbins and the Hood and all that stuff? What did you think about it?
So, I'm hoping that because Ryan Coogler is involved, that Disney dropped dime on this show. However few episodes it may be, and if it's just for one season or more, I'm just hoping that they drop dime because initially it huh?
I mean, that's never the issue. Marvel always spends money on these things. It's
No. But there's been other Marvel Disney Plus TV shows that look like Disney. You see my point? Like it just
I
doesn't
know.
look great.
But it's
So,
not a money thing. It's just like it's a stylistic thing for whatever reason.
okay,
Because
fine.
they spend a ton of money on these shows. Like some of these shows cost as much or more than some of the movies, which is
Fair point.
that's why we're probably not going to see as many shows going forward. Just saying. But
I
go
hope
ahead.
so.
Yeah.
But given how long it's taken to get this show, the fact that we're finally getting it after what, 3 years? You know, it's been done for 3 years, give or take. It's
Yeah.
long overdue. I was interested in who Riri Williams is when we first saw her in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, right? I thought she was cool. I'm like, let's develop this character even more, and then nothing, nada, right? But here's the show, and then you get Anthony Ramos, who is playing a character which I know nothing about. I know nothing about the hood. No, I know about the hood where I'm from, but not like this hood.
Right.
But I love Anthony Ramos. I love him. I love. Y'all, if you haven't done so already, do yourself a favor and watch him in Hamilton. It's also on Disney Plus. So, just, click, go watch him in Hamilton. He's fantastic. Also saw him in the latest like Transformers movie, or one of the latest Transformer movies. Didn't care for the movie, but I liked him. I think he's great. I think he's funny. I think he's got good like charisma, delivery, what have you. But it seems like he's going to play a villain type. So I'm curious to see him step into that role because that's not something I've seen him in traditionally.
Right.
I'm looking forward to this show. I mean, the fact that they're dropping the first 3 on the first day is kind of odd. This is very like Hulu, Handmaid's Tale kind of vibe, which they've done the same thing. It's like, but is it going to be episodic, or are they going to do like the weird thing that they've been doing with Andor? Andor dropped like the first 3 episodes, and then it was like episodic, and then like on week 4 it was another 2 or 3, and I'm like, what is happening? I don't understand why they're doing this as a model.
They're dropping the first 3 on what's the date? June
24th.
24th. Okay. I think it's weekly after that for 3 more weeks.
Okay.
But there's only 6 episodes.
Just 3. Oh my. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like half of the season they're dropping on the first week. So to me, they're almost like giving it like the Echo treatment. Remember, Echo dropped over like 2 days, I believe. So
yes, that's true.
So
I do remember that.
it is the final project in phase 5 of the MCU. So that'll be the end of that phase. You mentioned about the hood. Now, I don't know a ton about the character either. However, we did see the hood in season 3 of What If.
What If?
So
yes, but it wasn't this version of the hood either. It was a completely different version.
It was not. Yeah, that's very fair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the show looks good. I mean, as far as like the visuals, looks good. I like that character from Wakanda Forever. Wakanda Forever was not one of my favorite movies, just because I didn't like how they just kind of moved on from T'Challa. Like
Kukulkan.
There we go.
I had to do it. I was like, "What? You didn't like Kukulkan? Come on, that's my people right there."
But no,
literally,
see, she's creating her suit. We see the suit. The suit looks cool, and I mean, she's gonna be in Avengers, Doomsday or Secret Wars for sure. So it's important we see this before we get to those movies. And well, I say for sure. I don't know that. I don't know that for a fact. So maybe I shouldn't say that. But I think she'll be a part of it.
I think she'll be a part of it. I don't see why. What wasn't she like? Her casting chair in line with all the reveals?
No, I don't think it was. Yeah.
Okay.
They're pretty light on women, and they're pretty light on TV.
I think there's way more that will be in the movie. They're just not like giving us everything.
So.
They're giving us like the main ones that you want to see in the movie.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure there's going to be like other cameos, side surprises.
Yeah. Someone else that we're seeing on screen right now is I mentioned Solo earlier, and Solo, of course, starred Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo, the young Han Solo story. So he's in this show, and his character, I think, is credited as being Joel McGillicuddy. But I've seen rumors online that he's actually playing Obadiah Stane's son.
Stop it right now.
So that might be a total joke, but I'm like, that would be really cool if
That's funny.
Obadiah Stane's son teams up with Ironheart. He has the suit,
Mhm.
like, and maybe he becomes a villain. I don't know. Maybe he becomes her tag team partner. I have no idea. But I mean, we're definitely going to talk about the show. I'm going to watch the
Oh,
show. I'm
yeah.
looking forward to it. To me, like dropping half the season, the first week to me doesn't inspire confidence. Doesn't show they have confidence in the show.
Mhm.
Now, granted, it might just be like their way of, you know,
Cranking things out.
yeah. I mean, look, streamers are wild. Like today, we found out that HBO Max is going to be called HBO Max again this summer. It was HBO Max. It became Max for whatever dumb reason, and now it's going to be back to HBO Max in a few
After
months.
2 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Weird
these
day.
streamers, they're still trying to figure it out for sure. This is not an exact science for them. So we'll
No.
see. But this show looks good to me.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I wanna see the inner workings of Riri's mind and her experiments and her inventions and things, and just how she navigates life post Wakanda Forever, right?
Yeah.
I think it'll be good, and I think Dominique Thorne has a lot to offer in terms of her acting skills. So, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
And I wonder, since it was filmed in 2022, maybe they've done some reshoots since then. They probably have done something. I
Mm.
wonder, will the show be a direct follow-up to Wakanda Forever, or will it be like, "Hey, it's been a few years since Wakanda Forever." You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I don't
Like,
know. I don't know.
I mean, I think either way, it's probably gonna be pretty self-contained. I don't think it's gonna, have other things. It'll connect to Wakanda Forever, maybe just in a
Mhm.
flashback or two. We even see that in the
Sure.
trailer.
I mean,
But
she references her
yeah,
internship
right.
abroad.
But I think it's gonna be its own thing, and I think that's actually a good approach for these shows. Like,
I agree.
um,
I agree.
I mean, yeah, there's gonna be some thread to something else, but tell a good story. Tell the story of the character as best you can, and
Mhm.
focus on that, and then you can connect it later on in a post credit scene or in a team up movie or whatever. So
Or not.
or not, yeah, but
It's fine.
they usually do in this interconnected world of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, looks good to me. Looking forward to talking about that in late June.
Yep.
Ironheart.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So Brittany, that about does it. Is there anything else you want to talk about that we didn't get to?
I think we're good, although I do just wanna throw in real quick that, uh, what's her name? Ritter.
Oh, Kristen Ritter.
Kristen Ritter, thank you.
Yeah.
She will be returning and reprising her role as Jessica Jones in the season 2
Yeah.
Daredevil Born Again show. So
Yeah.
that's exciting.
Yeah.
I do like her. I just didn't care for Jessica Jones' show all that much other than that I can't remember what season it was, but, I thought her and the Defenders along with Daredevil was pretty good, like, just the back and forth. So, I'm curious as to how involved she's gonna be in season 2. But, yeah, that I think that announcement was made today as well. So, it's
Yeah.
kinda cool. Kinda cool.
Yeah. A lot of cool stuff. There's even a pretty cool photo some people probably have seen. I don't have the photo with me right now, but there's a photo of Robert Downey Jr. on the set of Doomsday, and he's got like a kind of a super suit on. He's flexing his arm while he's reading Jeremy Renner's memoir or book that he came out
Oh,
with
love
recently.
that. I
So
love
very
that he's
cool.
supporting his fellow
Yeah.
Avengers.
Yeah. And it's almost like maybe he's hinting at maybe Hawkeye being in one of these movies, which no surprise if he is, but he hasn't been announced yet. So we'll see what
Well,
happens with that. But
hopefully they won't, undercut him in salary. He's not half a person, people. Like
yeah,
he survived.
I do think that like when that came up a few weeks ago, I think part of that was there's some posturing to that. I think there's part of it where I'm not sure they really want to do a Hawkeye season 2. And
I
if
don't
they
think it's
do a
necessary
Hawkeye
either.
season 2, the reason why they probably offered him half the money is because
He's
they
not
don't
in it as
expect him
much.
to be in it much. Yeah, and I think it would probably focus on Kate Bishop more
Sure.
than whereas in season 1 it was kind of more Clint, but a good portion of Kate too. So
Yep.
yeah, we'll see about that. But I think it's interesting we wrap up with Doomsday because Superman is the movie I've been looking forward to the most out of any movie except for Avengers Doomsday, which is coming out hopefully next May. Slated for next May. We'll see if it actually sticks to that date. I would not be surprised at all if it moves, but I'm looking forward to that one. But Superman's coming first. Can't wait for that. July 11th. Hope you enjoyed our discussion about it. And now you know what we thought about the Superman trailer and the Ironheart trailer that dropped today. We want to know what you thought about it. And Brittany, how can people let us know?
Well, just like King Lee Johnson joined us in the live chat, we invite you to join us for our next live chat, whether that be the Superman official movie review or something else that we have coming up, like The Handmaid's Tale. Yes, Amber and I will be coming back this Saturday to discuss episodes 6, 7, and 8 of the final season of The Handmaid's Tale. So please join us. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that notification bell. That way you will know when to join us next. Also, be sure to tell your friends, family, and fellow cryptos, doggos, whatever, about us. Give us a follow. Like I said, we're on the road to 500 subscribers, so help make that happen. And we've got our social media links in the description box down below, so go give us a follow on all those platforms. And if video podcasts such as YouTube is not your thing, you can still watch our video podcast on Spotify, for example, and also Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow and give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. So for Brittany, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.